In this video, guys, we're going to talk about when is it okay to step in front of a freight train. Just for clarity, this is a trading channel and it's a metaphor for buying at extreme lows or selling at extreme highs. Not to be confused with actually stepping in front of a freight train. Stick around. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Or I just have to clarify these things, right? You never know who's watching. This is a metaphor for stepping in front of a freight train is basically when market is just ripping to highs, and stepping in front of it is you're just shorting it as it's ripping to highs, buying it when it's just plummeting to lows. It's the freight train is the market moving absolutely powerfully, and you're there stepping in front of the freight train, and generally it's considered to be a bad idea. And I'm inclined to agree. Stepping in front of a really strong trend and trying to buy the low or sell the high is generally a losing game. However, if you are a little bit more advanced and you're kind of getting good at reading price action. I'm not saying that's the holy grail by any stretch of imagination, guys, but hey, if you're getting a little bit better at reading when things are turning, there's certain times when it's okay to step in front of it. And unlike stepping in front of a freight train for real, which is not going to stop and you're going to get splattered, with the market, as long as you are capping your risk and you're using stop orders and all this other stuff, then the maximum damage you can do is generally, okay, some scenarios where it'll gap through your stop or overnight risk, etc. But generally speaking, if you're a day trader, you've got a stop in, halting, all the other stuff. But if you have a stop in, the maximum damage is the stop, right? So we're a little bit, okay, we can play the game a little bit. So sometimes we can kind of be the brave one who steps in front and goes, right, maybe that's the end of it. And so what are the signals really that this freight train is about to reverse? And unlike real freight trains, they don't swing around and turn the other way. Very often, guys, in price, and you've seen this before yourself, let's draw the old axis on the whiteboard. You've often seen the market just looking like it's absolutely going to pummel through the lows. There's the freight train, but the freight train does a U-turn and starts to rip back through the highs. That old V-shaped reversal that's so tricky to get to. And we'd love to be able to get on right at this low point if we possibly could. Now, is it always feasible? Of course it's not. Of course, you don't want to do damage trying to pinpoint that, and then when you end up getting it going, hooray, I've got it, but you've ended up losing 5 times before you've got there, pointless, just pointless. So, there's some scenarios where that's okay. And so let's just kind of broadly look at them. And again, guys, keep your risk managed, all this other stuff. This is, if you're struggling with trading, this is the very last thing you want to be trying to do. This is for if you're kind of just to refine things a little bit. You've got a strategy that's working and you're kind of just looking for some extra tools to maybe grab something now and then that comes over the charts, over the screens occasionally, and you can just go, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna have a little nibble at that. So when is it okay to stand in front? So the ideal scenario is when you have some kind of extreme move that has just ran through loads of support levels, loads of this very quickly. There's a difference between a very strong trend day that's just doing this and just grinding low. The ones minus 500 points on the Dow or something. It's just gone through every single support and it's just grinding lower. That's not a freight train, guys. That's a very methodical plod lower, and that requires a lot more structure and a lot more analysis to get in front of. I suppose you could call it a freight train, but I'm not calling that one a freight train. I'm calling a freight train the one that's just like bang to the downside, pull back, bang to the downside, bang, and you get a very significant reprice move within a very short period of time. So if you get that, that's, we don't want to be trading this. This is not stepping in front of a freight train for me. This is this. So big move, no real catalyst. Now, you could argue that sometimes there's a catalyst like an interest rate announcement or something. This is okay and fine, as long as it's not fundamentally devastating to the market. So as long as it's not something that's fundamentally going to reprice it. If it's something that people are just reacting to and it's within line, but it seems to be reaction, then fine. So you get the scenario, big move lower. So what do we want to see? We want to see, number one on the checklist, we want to see big move in a short period of time. High volume, lots of supply demand, because what we're trying to do here is the supply demand balance, if you like, is sitting there, slam, it's literally maxed out, full supply, bang, this thing's just literally falling through the floor. If you can pinpoint it and get it right, then even it coming to neutral is going to be a big bounce. You know, even if it just comes to neutral and this just finds its legs, you know, it could bounce 100 points or something on the Dow and just really give you that quick snap back before it continues lower. But sometimes it continues the other way. So what we're trying to do is trying to identify this. So big move, very short period of time. Multiple pullbacks and pauses on the way down. We don't want the first because we want to be shorting the first. Don't want the second really either. Don't really want the third. Fourth and fifth, I don't mean by pauses, flags, pullbacks, consolidations, something other than just red candles. So that's the first, then your second, then your third. When you get to the fourth and fifth, now we're kind of in the zone where maybe we're looking for the final flush. So once we've seen a big move lower, we've seen that continued push, you see multiple pauses, and you're right under all sorts of support. The support's long gone. Everyone's kind of, what the hell's going on? That's where you can now stalk and go, right, what I'm looking for. It's got the attributes of something that's going to turn, it's got the attributes of something that's going to snap back. How do I play this? Number one, you're looking for that volume and a flush type candle. So the big final move at the end of a trend, not the beginning, at the end. 4 or 5 different types of consolidation, final flurry, big red candle that's just printing lower, 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 pauses. If you can spot that pause, that's worth a nibble. Now again, guys, keep the risk managed, not no advice, all that kind of other stuff. Super dangerous potentially, but then again, you know, trading is dangerous whatever you're doing. You're shorting into the hole, that's dangerous. But if you can spot that opportunity on a short term and you see that final thing, all the things have lined up, you're in the right kind of zone, you see that bid being hit. You don't need level 2 for this, you can just see it on the chart, the candle going lower, printing. It pauses or it pops slightly, revisits slightly, there's your sweet spot. Now, sometimes you get a pause and there's one more flush. Sometimes you get, so it's the pause, it's how it responds to the pause. It's very, very short term, guys. Pausing, just seeing it pop a little bit, maybe trying to go lower and then holding. So very, very, very short term, you're kind of seeing this. You know, you're seeing it go lower, pops, does this. It's almost that on a seconds basis. You know, when you get that scenario, you absolutely have to be very, very strict with your risk and saying, right, if it goes back through that low, I am out. I'm holding this and seeing what happens. It's a literally, hey, the risk might be 20 ticks, but this thing could pop 100 just like that. And that's the name of the game. It's freight train. You're trying to spot when maybe that massive, massive supply is going to back off. You're going to get a bit of demand, and you don't need that much demand. You just need supply to back off. Neutral means it will pop. If demand comes in, that's when you get the V-shaped stuff. So, you know, that scenario, you've got all the ducks in a row lined up. Then you see that flush, the final kind of flurry, the big candle, the volume. If you look at the tick index on the US indices, that's right at minus 1500 or something crazy. Maybe time of days come into it, a separate topic, but everything's lining up. And then you see that pause, the little pullback on the 1 minute, tries to go again, and this will be very subtle. Sometimes that is very, very subtle. You see a bid stepping up, you see it maybe not even going lower, that's when you're in. You're like, yeah, there's my long, bang. And I'm a big advocate of scaling out into it, because I don't think always you're going to get this revert. In fact, you very rarely do. So I'm a big advocate of sort of scaling into that strength. So bang, pops 50 points, takes some off, 80, 100, off. And then you leave a core. You go, okay, well, if I've got the low of the day, great, because this thing now may well, I'm doing it in red and kind of, you know, guys, I like to do these crazy drawings on here. If it kind of does this, it might give you an unwind and then kind of do a trend reversal, or it might revisit lows. So if you're prepared to do that, you're in, you've got most of it off onto this high, you're like, okay, I'll leave a chunk, I'll see what happens, I'll put a stop there, I'll put a target there, and maybe you end up getting a very nice little cherry on top, maybe you don't, but either way, you've kind of leveraged on that little short-term nuances of stepping in front of that freight train by being clever and looking at the subtle, real subtle changes in supply demand on a very, very short time frame. All right, guys, take care. See you in the next one. Bye for now.